From Seattle, Washington, Precursor SPC.
I'm Clive Cook, co-founder and CEO of Precursor SPC. This title slide illustrates the massive electromagnetic energy of the space environment. Knowledge of your environment, specifically the space environment, is essential for space domain awareness. Space weather is an integral part of that space environment. Without actionable, advanced knowledge of the space weather environment, operations or missions are at risk of failure. Costs cannot be mitigated. Responses are unorganized and chaotic. There is no preparedness. There's a cost of getting caught unaware. Today, damages and disruptions due to space weather cost tens of billions of dollars a year. A single significant space weather event can cause trillions of dollars and loss of life. Today, space weather forecasting is 50 years behind where terrestrial weather forecasting is today. Precursor is here to change that space environment dynamic. We're ionospheric and data scientists using machine learning and artificial intelligence to provide actionable information on the space weather environment and deliver space weather services. To that end, we have built, tested, and demonstrated a first-of-a-kind, real-time space weather nowcasting capability over Northern Europe for U.S. Space Force. Our space weather nowcasting product measures the changing electromagnetic energy in the ionosphere in real time via a data assimilation and fusion with a 1,000 times improvement in resolution, both temporal and spatial. This is the first real-time, high-fidelity space weather map, a foundational map, which you would have seen as a video, environment showing not only the changing dynamic space weather, but the space assets actually flying through that space environment. That has never been done before. You can't have forecasting without nowcasting. That is, you can't know what is going to happen without knowing what is happening now. By building a sufficiently data-rich capability to map the ionosphere in real time, dynamically, we can not only forecast the changing environment, but more importantly, we can determine the impacts of that environment on space assets, on operations, on missions. For space, we need a space weather service. As we expand, as the private sector and public sector expand into space and deliver more and more capabilities and have more and more presence into space, we must understand the space weather environment in real time. Similar to our life on Earth, life in space is going to be the same. You have a purpose. You have a purpose or task you're going to perform when you go out there. You want to know how crowded it is going to be, and you want to know what the weather is. Those three important answers to those three important questions, that is space domain awareness. And the weather, space weather, is integral to space domain awareness. Today, the private and public sectors are establishing the requirements for space weather services, but guidelines, laws, and rules of the road, if you will, in space. The Department of Commerce is now working on guidelines for the safe operation of private government space systems within the space weather environment. The FAA will require soon private and government space operators to have a real-time understanding of the space weather environment for satellite planning, launch, and operation. Insurance companies are providing private operators risk-adjusted policies for space launch and operations. One of the key elements in that risk equation is space weather. The designers of space satellite systems must build to specifications to address the space weather environment. Today, there is no service to assess the actual dynamic real-time space weather environment or accurately forecast the impacts of space weather on tasks and operations. Precursor Space Weather Nowcasting is a first-of-a-kind service for assessing the actual dynamic real-time impact of or in the space weather environment. Here's how we do it. We continuously take dozens of physical measurements from ground and satellite-based systems from multiple perspectives in real time. Literally hundreds of measurements and from hundreds, if not thousands, of perspectives in real time from ground and space. We start with an a priori measurement of that space to establish the state of the ionospheric voxel, that three-dimensional element of space. And then continuously measure and update that voxel in real time using a powerful machine learning capability called a Bayesian inference engine. I noted earlier when the Associate Dean, when you were announcing the Associate Dean, she had the title in her book on Bayesian statistics. Tell her we're implementing her solution right here, right now. And then after we continuously measure and update this produces the real-time, real state, not a modeled state, high-fidelity map of the ionosphere. This is space weather nowcasting. We deliver space weather nowcasting as a high-impact, real-time service to government, industry, and financial services. This is the space weather report today. This is what US stakeholders use to make decisions about our most valuable space assets. It's a static picture of a global phenomena based upon models and sensors. It cannot tell you in real time what is happening. It cannot take into account man-made interventions in the ionosphere. It cannot tell you the impacts of space weather on your most critical operations. A space model does not tell you what the space operator is seeing at that given moment or the electric grid provider is dealing with at that particular moment. A simple, complete, and more powerful approach for determining what is actually happening in the ionosphere is not physics-based and is not a model. Precursor uses a real-time data assimilation and fusion approach using machine learning to deliver space weather services. Space weather nowcasting captures the real-time evolution of the ionosphere to deliver unmatched space domain awareness. With this information over a specific region in time, we can directly determine how the space weather environment will dynamically impact the space operator, commercial aerospace, and the electric grid provider at that critical moment in time. Nowcasting can uniquely provide the actual impact of the dynamic ionosphere, dynamic space weather conditions and impacts on orbital drag, communications, radar, satellite operations, and is the foundation for space weather forecasting for NASA, for space specifically. This is as direct application to NASA manned space missions, my apologies, NASA low Earth orbit satellites, electric power companies, FAA navigation, global telecommunications, global navigation, and space systems design. Precursor has proven capabilities in commercial traction. We've demonstrated our real-time high-fidelity ionospheric mapping over Northern Europe for US Space Force. We're working with the Navy to launch a new satellite that will give even finer temporal resolution of the ionosphere. We're engaged with the Air Force to improve aerospace communication capabilities and space weather analytics. We're in discussions with various intelligence agencies to improve space domain awareness capabilities. On the commercial side, we're partnering with a global reinsurance firm to deliver new insights, better assess risk, long and short term, and to introduce new products and services for space operators and businesses. We have $200,000 in Revenue this year, from the start, we're a SaaS-based company delivering data and data analytics services. We expect to do $4 million in revenue next year and grow rapidly to over $100 million in ARR in 5 to 7 years. We are in the unique position to establish the world's first geodynamic-focused insurance and reinsurance services firm. We expect to deliver $1 billion in value to government and customers. These are ambitious goals that we believe we can achieve by meeting the challenge of providing actionable information as services. We're in the position to take a leadership in the $50 billion market that includes preparedness and risk management. Specific to space weather, we supplant current offerings in critical event management, geospatial intelligence, and space domain awareness, and introduce significant new opportunities in this plus $25 billion preparedness market. We believe we can quickly become a disruptor in the insurance and reinsurance industry in the areas of space risk and in the insurance-linked securities market. This team is purpose-built to deliver capabilities to meet the challenges of delivering commercial space weather services. Our core strengths are in atmospheric physics and machine learning are directly relevant to the business we are building. We've had considerable past successes leading technology-based businesses from early stages to exit for extraordinary investor returns. Personally, I have raised $200 million from venture investors and successfully exited 3 startups with double-digit multiple investor returns. Precursor uses real-time machine learning and artificial intelligence to deliver proven, first-of-a-kind services, space weather nowcasting, that will deliver actionable information for customers, generate superior investor returns, and positively impact the world. Thank you. My apologies again for missing the video.